Hey there, how's it going? What is up, everybody? Irish Orangutan is back to pass along the knowledge to make the most of your Madden team. Today, we are back to talk about most feared. We do have the 78 and 79 players up. We are going to be looking through the last of this, the last breakout of most feared part 3. Very excited about all the players that will be coming out. Of course, we'll have some more coming here shortly. RG up on the screen right now, bringing us the new players this morning on GMM. Rashawn Jenkins, the first player we'll be going through. 89 speed, 83 hit power for 81 overall. Actually pretty solid there, especially for a strong safety, someone you may be able to actually use in the box. Do have loads of 81s, 83s, 85s, of course 90s. This breakout is no different than any other. We will have players coming out in the evening as well. We'll be going over that and sharing those over on YouTube. So very excited about bringing that all a little bit more concise and put together over there. Next player up, Logan Thomas. Absolutely dreadful pretty much across the board. 86 strength. Just really not that good of a blocker. Very excited about this promo and kind of what it has brought out. This is absolutely ridiculous. All the great new players that we have been able to get through this program. 90 overalls have absolutely been ridiculous, and you're able to just go out and get those for free. Sadly, they are those end cats though. We do have a Chargers lineman here. Right guard actually has some stats that match his overall, so that is not going to be that bad. Just doesn't have the strength to boot, so that is a negative for him. Sadly, Herbert was not the player that came out for the Chargers for most feared. He was that player that came out a couple weeks ago on a Thursday, so it would have been awesome if we did get him at 93 overall and we're able to acquire him a little more easily, but Chargers fans sadly did not get that, and we all did not get Hot Route Master. Right outside linebacker, we have 85 speed. Again, a guy that kind of overmatches his speed with his overall, so not actually all that bad, but really not that good of anything but a run stopper, and definitely not going to play on many teams, especially for special teams. '83 overall, AJ Klein. Again, another one of those run stoppers. Don't really have great stats at anything but that. Have high block shed, but just have the power move and finesse move along with zone, I'm sure, down at the bottom in those reds as well. Another 83 overall, Myles Gaskin. 87 speed, so they are making all of these players viable, but they are making them all mid-range speed, so no one really stands out, and kind of giving them booty stats kind of everywhere, to be honest. 84 carrying is the only thing that's a positive besides that speed, to be honest. Max Williams sadly out for the year. This actually is interesting card. He is a great budget blocking tight end, is probably the best way to put that. Second or third tight end really easily. Just like the Cardinals offense, just don't feature him and he'll be able to do everything and catch the ball and run block perfectly for you. DeMonte KZ, we have 88 speed, again not bad. At free safety has absolutely terrible man and zone, and hit power does not get to 80, but still Cowboys theme team is pretty strong. This makes them halfway more solid to have another player that you can at least put out there and not have to worry about special teams. At 85 overall, we have a Logan Thomas. Absolutely terrible run blocking stats there. His catching is at 88. That could be a positive for you, but to be honest, it's not going to get to that 90 all that easily, even after powering him up, and catching doesn't matter all that much. You still have guys drop the ball if they go for the knockout, because because everyone is getting up to that 90 speed, 90 zone, 90 man, and he's going to be able to knock that out. So with his run blocking being that low, definitely not going to be someone you can feature. Next up, we have Sam Darnold, 75 speed there. Throw on the run is the only thing that really stands out for him. Does have decent throw power for 85 overall, but really not a player that you want to put on your field. Same can be said probably for the Panthers at this point. At middle linebacker, we have Anthony Hitchens. I don't know why the Chiefs keep defenders, and this one's actually really terrible as well, with 82 speed and 85 hit power. Just really not someone you want on your team at all. Hassan Riddick, a little bit more interesting, 85 speed at defensive end, 85 overall. 84 finesse moves. Really doesn't have a lot that would stand out. I think he actually probably should have got a better card than that in my opinion, but maybe a little more speed on that on top of everything else, just in comparison with who he really is, but that's not how Mutt always plays. David Montgomery is given an absolutely terrible card that doesn't justify anything that he has been doing on the field. Same as Hassan Riddick. Pretty sure Montgomery is faster than him at least, but giving him 85 speed on an 87 overall card is absolutely terrible. He's been one of the better running backs running behind an absolutely terrible offensive line, so this is kind of ridiculous to be honest. At 87 overall, we have Garrett Bowles. His top stat for blocking is actually in pass blocking, which doesn't matter as much, only it matters more for the sheds in that regard. So more skilled players are going to be able to get past him really easily, and he doesn't have as good of run blocking. John Franklin Myers, as RG speeds up, even though it probably would make more sense to go slower with the better cards. 78 speed here, 88 finesse move. That speed you just don't want on the field, to be honest, but the 88 finesse move is quite interesting. Matthew Judon, sadly, at outside linebacker, is not going to be able to get the same courtesy, kind of with speed. 78 was too slow, and you play him on the inside. You're going to have to play Judon on the outside, and he's 81 speed. The 88 power move is solid, but unless you're running mid-blitz, this really isn't something that you want, and even then, you're going to want that top-end speed on those middle guys if they do get through. First up here we have Preston Smith, 85 speed for the 90 overalls, only has that 88 power move. We saw something comparable with that with the 87 overalls, so it's kind of a bummer that he's kind of at that 90 power, at that 90 power rush. It really is something that is a negative for him. Doesn't get any of the special off the edge anything, and really doesn't have that top end speed. Logan Ryan here at free safety is going to be able to get to that 90 zone for you. It does have something that's going to be a low end speed at this point, and has a very low hit power even compared to some cornerbacks, so not necessarily a positive, and not the first player I would add to my team. Jordan Poyer, given the highest hit power he's probably ever been given in the game, 89 speed. Does have actually legit man and zone as well. If you power him up and have the +2 on man, you're going to be able to get those both up. Poyer and Hyde always have the low hit power, is why I say that. This actually isn't that bad of a card, and someone you may actually be able to play on your team. I would actually play him over Jamal Adams because he's able to have that man coverage as well. Ryan Jensen, this is actually a really solid card as well, especially that you can get potentially NCAT and just have a center that you don't need to worry about for quite some time. Not going to be top end, but still pretty solid. Next up we have Josh Jacobs. Solid running back is probably the nicest thing that I can say. 90 speed, decent truck and break tackle. He's going to play similarly to Ezekiel Elliott, but probably isn't going to be the NCAT that you want. with so many being given out, it is a possibility that you would want him, but still potentially not the best for you. Everson Griffin, not Griffith. The player that was teased out yesterday. This is actually a pretty solid card, especially since you can play him in the middle. 87 block shed makes him viable against the run. 89 power move will get to 90, so we'll get some of those better rushing stats as well. Definitely one of the top end guys, and one that I'm very strongly going to consider, because it is kind of important to swap out guys as those pass blocking and run blocking bars do get raised. Devon Bush, another one that's going to be a very solid option and could help you in the run game. Very, very good speed and hit power, 89 speed and 91 hit power. 87 zone is actually tremendous as well. The negative for him, and it's very true, can't get off blocks, and his block shed is only 80, so going to play like a safety in many regards, and just going to be a little bit slower than most. But if you don't have solid middle linebackers, this is going to be a player that I consider, and I don't have Leighton Vander Esch, I'm almost certain anymore. I think I have JLK back in that spot. This is going to be a player that will take back over that middle linebacker spot, at least middle linebacker number 2. Going to be a very fast linebacker, going to fit in a lot of schemes really well. Again, he's someone you could potentially blitz and have him run those loops and be there quicker than many, especially at the middle linebacker position. Keenan Allen, probably given his best speed he's ever gotten for his overall. It actually matches it at 90 speed and 90 overall. But for some reason didn't get the route running that he probably should have gotten. None of them got to 90. He's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, and for some reason he can't get the cards to match. Looking at our first 93, we have Kyle Juszczyk, 86 speed, 93 lead blocking, getting close to what that Larry Zonka could potentially offer. Not going to necessarily be as good of a runner, but is going to be a better blocker and potentially a better receiver. I don't think Larry has 82 catching. I really do need to double check on that. Larry has caught pretty much every pass that I have thrown at him, but I don't try to throw into double coverage. Usually those are just catch the ball and potentially run into one player, or catch the ball in the wide open. Juszczyk will clearly be able to do that as well, and will be a little bit of a bump in the run game. Again, if you don't use fullbacks, may not be the best option for you, but if you run anything like Ravens or like to run I formation, it can be something that is very valuable to you. One more big thing I do want to talk about before we get into the last 93 here. There are a lot of different players that are going to be able to get new most feared looks on their cards. I know it's not something that pops up a lot in games, but potentially at the beginning of games, they could be something that you want to add to your cards. Mike Vick, Aaron Rodgers, and Andre Johnson were the main ones that I do remember at this point, but there are a lot of players that will get that boost. Aaron Donald, one of the cards I have been waiting for, gets 84 speed, 92 strength, 92 block shed, 93 power move, and 89 finesse move. Going to be one of the best players in the game. I'm going to be playing him at defensive tackle as soon as I can get this card acquired. So just one thing to think about, he is near perfect across the board at everything that you could potentially want from an interior lineman. Don't play him on the outside, he's going to be a little bit slow, but on the inside he's going to be the best you can get. We are here to finish talking about the Most Feared Part 3 release. Very excited that we don't have to go through the stream for this. I do apologize for those over on Twitch. That was rough, I'm not going to lie. Just going through all the players as slow as the Mud stream did go, so I will be going through these on Twitter over there from now on. The player that we get to look at first, the limited time T.Y. Hilton. Absolutely solid card across the board here. Going to be a great pass catcher for you. Going to be a little bit shorter and not as good of a run blocker as, say, a Brandon Marshall, but definitely has that top end speed that you will want. Next up here for the limiteds, we have J.C. Horn, again the fastest cornerback in the game to match the fastest wide receiver. I believe Will Fuller did match that speed, but this is going to be absolutely remarkable to put on your team. I'm very interested to see what he can potentially do against the run as well. And this may be a player that I actually need to get onto my team and see how we can potentially fit him into different situations. I am only running one cornerback and running safeties pretty much everywhere else, but this speed along with all those pass coverage stats do potentially allow me to move over to this J.C. Horn. Just want to see what I can do in the run game. Jair Alexander, one of those players that is absolutely going to be Jair Alexander, one of those great players that will be able to be gotten by trading in your 90s. Should have gotten a little higher in speed for this particular player. Was thinking about keeping a powered up Jair Alexander in my book and just kind of bumping him up whenever he would get a new card, since he does have such tremendous speed. But since this is too lower compared to his overall, they really kind of did him dirty, I'm not gonna lie. I know this is a player that a lot more people can get more easily, but I guess that's the way that it works. Really, the limited times are giving the best speed, and you're able to get the best cards by spending the most money. They are giving out a lot of 90s and lower end cards to make you competitive, but it's just true. The best cards cost more money at this point. We have DK Metcalf as the last set player that you are going to be able to get at 93 overall. Does have absolutely tremendous speed at 92, 91 deep route running. Going to be a great fit on a lot of teams. I'm very interested in his run blocking. Again, harken back to those other things, since to be honest, almost all the wide receivers, quarterbacks, things of that nature, you can look at their speed, then look at a couple of their stats. They're almost all identical. You're going to have to look at height and look at the things beyond just those base stats that come apart, because all those players are starting to play the same. It is frustrating they don't, I mean, literally 88, 90, 91 on his route running. I don't think he's that on those route runnings. I think he's a lot worse at short route running, a little bit worse at medium route running, so he should have like 80, 85, 90. They need to make cards different. It's kind of ridiculous. It's really frustrating that every card is pretty much the same card. Offensive line, it's even more clear there, but DK Metcalf could be a solid card, but going to need to look at the rest of his stats. I did discuss this earlier, I did go over this earlier, discussing some of the players that could potentially have new card art on their players. Looking more closely at this, these are compatible with the Monster Morph as well, so you really can have some players that go all out and get that boost. Mike Vick can have 2 more speed, things of that nature, so just keep those things in mind when you are building your team. Monster Morph only lasts a week longer, so it's sad that they kind of did more with it as things are closing out, but that is the way that EA works. Something we already do know along the lines of some other information we already know along these lines as well are the players that will be coming out on Saturday. So thankfully I'm able to bring you that information similarly to what we were able to do in the past. We have Plaxico Burress, Troy Polamalu. Plax has been a very tall, very solid, dependable receiver in the past. Could be a very good option, just need to know what his speed is. Hopefully Troy Polamalu does have the speed that kind of matches how fast he actually was on the field. Him and Alvin Kamara are a little bit strange. Their instincts are just so good, and they have that fast twitch that's hard to put in the game, but changing the direction and agility, those should at least be way, way higher. But Troy had that top end speed as well, so hopefully they do him right. Closing it up on Aaron Donald, again a player that we already went over, but just very excited about him coming out today. Do have tremendous cards, very excited about what we can potentially do with these cards, and some players that we still need to add from last week as well. Really need to start working on the coin stack to try to add in some of these players. They do have a little bit of boost in some regards. He's going to be playing a similar position to what Tommy Harris did, potentially taking his spot. Going to have better finesse move, but just honestly +2s in power and finesse move in a couple other areas. So it's not even that much of an upgrade, so something I'm going to need to consider. He's the best defender in the NFL, and it hasn't been close for the last 3 years. He has 84 speed, which isn't comparable with other right ends. why can't they boost his block shed and power move? A little more frustrated with what they're doing with stats this time around, but just wanted to voice that. And thank you all very much for listening in today. I hope you're having all these cards added to your team, at least the ones that you do want and need. And thankfully we're able to add all the 90s that we want. Take care, everybody.